this is Crazy Kent here, and I'm here to bring you another book review. I hope you guys are enjoying your Halloween. I hope you got some candy. I hope you're enjoying yourselves. And let's go ahead and get right into a new book review. And this one, I have to say, is probably my most favorite this entire year. So, about a year ago, on my gaming channel, I reviewed Bendy and the Ink Machine, and it was quite a terrifying experience, but it was also a fun one as well, to explore a mysterious studio, and I kind of like games like that. And during the whole time I was playing the game, I remember asking certain questions like, why would Bendy try to kill you every time he appears? And also, whatever happened to the workers at the Joey Drew Studios to begin with? So I was already aware that there was a lot of mystery to the game, to where it doesn't really give off a lot to pretty much explain everything. So I was still just as much in the dark, just going into it. And then this year, in September, I found a new book that's based off of the game itself. And this is the first book that was actually released, and I just heard that it was going to be its own series, which I'm excited for. So the book is called Bendy and the Ink Machine, Dreams Come to Life. And this is supposed to be a supposed prequel to the original game. And I was pretty much excited to read it because I'm already aware that this is the first book in what is to become a series. So now it's like, since it's going to be a series, we're going to be taking a deeper dive into the lore. So I'm really excited about that. So I picked up the book, I started reading it, and because it's October and it's Halloween and so on and so forth. And it wasn't a really long book. I just had a lot of stuff going on. It wasn't a long book. It's a book that you can literally get through in probably like, if you're a speed reader, you probably get through it in like 1 or 2 days. But if you're somebody who likes to take the time to enjoy the book that they're reading, usually will take like maybe 3 to 4 days. But yeah, it's an incredibly short book. Other than that, the book pretty much held my attention for the longest, so I decided to just go ahead and do a review on this. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Oh, and just to let you know, this is a spoiler warning. I'm going to be talking about a couple of things that happened in the book that pretty much happened in the game. So if you haven't played the game yet, I would suggest you to play the game. Otherwise, you're either going to get confused or you're going to get spoiled on a couple of things. But if you don't care about that stuff at all and you just want to know if the book's good, that's fine. I'm glad you're here. Before we talk about the book, let's first talk about the author of the book. And the author's name is Adrienne Kress. Now, she's an actor and writer that was born in Toronto. And she's known for other literary works such as Timothy and the Dragon's Gate, Alex and the Ironic Gentleman, and this one's a big surprise to me. She actually wrote a novel based off of my favorite series called Hattermadigan, Ghost in the Hat Box. And she corroborated with the original author of that book series, Frank Medor. So if you haven't read The Looking Glass Wars, I would highly recommend it. It is a great read. Bendy is her first dive into writing a horror novel, and in my opinion, I think she did an absolutely great job of it. If this was actually her first time, wow, props off. I love it. But let's go ahead and get right into the story. So the story takes place before the events of the game after World War II, where 17-year-old Daniel Buddy Lewis lives in the Lower East Side of New York City, and he has a dream to be an artist. His dream came true in the form of Joey Drew, the owner of Joey Drew Studios and the creator of the Dancing Devil himself, Bendy. He takes Buddy under his wing with the promise of being a cartoonist for the studio, but all dreams come with a price. Behind the picture-perfect studio of animators and music composers, there's something that dwells within the studio at night, and Buddy, along with his direct co-worker, Dot, are trying to find out what it is and to unravel the mystery behind a certain machine. Now, my thoughts on the story is that it gives me the same flow as you would feel if you were playing the game, but with a more uncomfortable feeling, like when you play the game, it's like you already are put in an uncomfortable feeling. It's just that now you're just getting ready for the next thing that's going to pop out and kill you or scare you. But with this book, it just sets a whole uncomfortable feeling for you, and it was as though as we are seeing the story being told through Buddy's perspective, but we are aware that something has happened to him in the beginning of the story to where he says something like this: I see that smile everywhere. It greets me in the darkness suddenly. Around every corner, in my dreams, that big wide grin, mouthful of teeth that looks flat and even. You never know how sharp they are until you're sliding down his gullet. That little devil darling. I can't escape it. This was all on the first page. So already I was getting a really uncomfortable vibe, because it was like, so is Buddy alive or dead? And if he's dead, then how is he telling the story? It was just a lot of questions for me, like literally in the beginning of the book. And I was already like, oh my God, did something happen to him? Oh, Jesus Christ. And then when I pretty much read on throughout the book, I completely forgot about it. And I'm just like, oh God, I hope he makes it out okay. I hope he makes it out okay. So these questions will hit you, and as you read on, it will keep you guessing on what will happen next as the mystery unravels. And we go on to the characters within this mad tale, which is, of course, Buddy, the protagonist of the story. And then there's also Dot, his polar female opposite, and his possible love interest, and many other familiar characters from the game, such as the fan favorite, Sammy Lawrence, the music director turned psychopathic worshiper of Bendy you meet in the game. And, of course, there's the eccentric Joey Drew, the owner of the studio, with a very, very dark agenda. Now, the one thing I found interesting about the game is that there's a lot of references to Joey Drew, but you never really see him until the end of the game. So here we finally get a little taste of his characteristics and what kind of a character that he is in the book. There are many other familiar characters that you may recognize, well, before they changed anyway. And as I read the book, it's starting to feel like I was playing a game of Clue, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was a Bendy and the Ink Machine edition of that game. With every character Buddy meets, there's always a suspect for you that you don't know who might be an ally, who might be an enemy, or who could go crazy, whether from the exposure to the ink itself or the work ethic. One thing I like to talk about when it comes to the ink is like, kind of like has this certain thing to it, like it has a mind of its own, to where once it pretty much infects you, like once it, like you accidentally consume it, it's kind of like consuming actual ink. It's poison. But this type of ink, it gets inside you, it plays with your mind, and it makes you go crazy, which is probably what happened to Sammy later on in the story when he got exposed to a large dosage of it. Is either they go crazy from the ink or whether they go crazy from the work ethic. Joey Drew, I'm gonna be honest, he's the worst boss I have ever seen, and he's actually the most unsettling character in the entire book, even more than Sammy Lawrence himself, because it's like the way he manipulates his workers, how he will easily make promises to them that you know he will never keep, and how he always gives off an uncomfortable vibe throughout the book, even when Buddy first meet him. It's just so weird. It's like at first when Buddy meets him, it's like, oh, okay, Joey Drew seems like a stand-up guy, but then it's like the more you see him throughout the book, the more he's pretty much like showing how much of a different person that he is, despite the surface. Because there was one time where Buddy actually got his first paycheck in the book, and it was $40. Now, $40 is not a lot today, but it was a lot back then. $40, it was a lot of money. So when he got that money, Joey Drew decided to take him out to celebrate. So he takes him to a very expensive restaurant. They got steak, they ordered wine and a Coke. They were pretty much having fun and having a grand old time. That was until the bill came and Joey made him pay for the food. Incomprehensible asshole. And before that, they were on a catwalk of a theater that he bought, and they were just talking and whatnot. And while Buddy was dazing off, he pretty much suddenly felt like he was being pushed all of a sudden he looks up to see that he was caught by Joey. Now, whether Joey was actually joking about that or not, I would pretty much say I would not trust this dude after I nearly fell off of a freaking catwalk, and it felt like I was getting pushed off that same catwalk. I mean, it's like the more you pretty much see this guy, the more of an asshole he is. The way he manipulates everybody throughout the story. And now, as I'm reading this book, I'm like, why would anybody still work for this? Like, for real, this dude is an absolute monster. Like, he's even more of a monster than the monster that this book is based off of. Like, I just feel so uncomfortable right now. But in the end, everybody goes a little crazy. And the tone of the book is pretty much well-rounded. I love it. The whole time when I was reading, I wasn't reading just because I was trying to get through it, just so I could try to do a video on this. I was mostly reading the book because of the fact that I want to see what happens next. Is Buddy gonna make it out of it okay? Is anybody gonna make it out of it okay? What is the whole point of the machine? And that's where I pretty much discovered after reading the book what the machine is for. And this is my idea of it versus my idea of it when I first started playing the game. So when I first started playing the game, I thought the whole idea of the ink machine itself was the fact that it was supposed to make cartoon characters or make a huge quantity of ink to where they can't run out, or special ink to where they could draw stuff and it's animated pictures on like the freaking paper, which is also true because, like I said, the ink has a mind of itself. It can think on its own. It's kind of like a symbiote, basically, from Spider-Man. But also, reading the book, and this is where the spoiler territory comes into play. I'm gonna give you a moment to like read the book first, or to skip to a certain part of the video. Follow that time code. I will pretty much give you time to pretty much skip. So the whole business with the ink machine is that it doesn't just make cartoon characters or make special kinds of ink. It basically makes live action cartoon characters out of dead people. So the entire time when you play the game and you see those pentagrams on the ground, those weren't to summon cartoons as we thought. They were basically sacrificial pentagrams, basically. Like, they were pretty much there so that Joey, or anybody for that matter, can sacrifice a human life just so that human life can be reborn as a cartoon. Which is why you see like so many of these black inky creatures, which are known as the Lost Ones, everywhere throughout the game, because they are remnants of who they used to be. Now, who were they? I don't know. They could have been like people who used to work for the studio. They could have been like investors that pretty much were like going to see the development of the upcoming Bendy land. It's basically that, and that was the whole entirety of Joey Drew's idea. He wants to pretty much make live action cartoon characters, but the only way to do that is that you got to kill off the real people in order to make that happen. And finding out this fact pretty much made me really, really disturbed. Like I didn't even understand what the hell I was reading anymore. And then the worst thing of all is that this all started because of Henry. Because when Henry first started at the company, he was the original creator of Bendy. He was the original creator of Boris and also Alice Angel. So of course, when Joey decided to just handle finances and to take over the studio, everything, and this is the worst part of working at that studio, everything that you make, from the cartoons that you make to the music to everything, he feels that it belongs to him. He will take all the credit for it, not the people who actually did it. Could you imagine like going to like a movie and then next thing you know, it's like you read the credits and then there's only one name in the credits? That's basically how his mind works. He feels as if because he runs the studio, because he runs everything should be his. No questions, ifs, ands, or buts. And if you have a problem with that, he will pretty much try to silence you. And that's how I think most of these characters pretty much got killed off in the game because of the fact that they didn't like how things are being run there. So Joey had to silence them in some sort of way. And what better way to do that than to sacrifice them and to pretty much use them as vessels for cartoons. And sometimes they don't even become vessels, they just become blobs of ink to where there's literally nothing of reasonable mind there. So it was a lot that I pretty much discovered in this book, and it was just so unsettling. I've been rambling for far too long, so let's go ahead into the final thoughts of this. And my final thoughts are that the book was a definite thrilling and enjoyable read. I always try to imagine myself in Buddy's shoes, and I always try to picture how terrifying it is for a 17-year-old to be trapped in a building with all this crazy crap going on, with demonic cartoon characters, sleazy studio owners, and a mysterious machine that is turning everything upside down within the studio. And it keeps you on your toes. It does a great job with making references to the game as well as providing clues to the game to give you a semblance of what could have happened before and what translates to now, the cause and effect that led to the game itself. And I kind of like that. I really love that. Like now, every single time when I pretty much read this book and I pretty much play the game, I'll now think about all the characters and references in that book to where it'll give me a broader idea. But like I said, this isn't going to be the only book, as this is going to be a series. And I hope Miss Cress actually continues with that plan of making a series, because it's already evident that we got a new Bendy game coming out. I'm excited for that. But now I'm definitely excited to read more books out of this series. And I have to say, it was a great time reading it. I'm really excited for the other books, and this book is a definite must-read for Bendy fans. So if you're a fan of Bendy and the Ink Machine, or just a fan of something that'll make you creeped out to begin with, or something that'll pretty much like give you something to read to where you need a good mystery, I would say check out Bendy and the Ink Machine. Dreams Come to Life. Definite must read. I highly recommend it. And if I had a rating scale for it, it would be a 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. Now screw it, I'll give it a 10 out of 10. I love it. I love every moment of it. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Sorry it's not as long as my other ones, but I still hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to leave a like if you did, if you want to order it yourself, or if you pretty much want to check out the book at your local library, or listening to it on the audiobook. That's probably what I'm going to be doing right now. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm Crazy Ken. Happy reading.